The murder rate in the District of Columbia is skyrocketing to years that have not been seen in nearly 2 decades. According to the Metropolitan Police Department, there have been 214 homicides this year. That is up a whopping 38% over last year. Vehicle thefts are up 106%. Total violent crime up 38%. Among those killed in the last week, a teenage boy who died after leaving Dunbar High School in Northwest. Gun violence is falling in many cities, but not in the nation's capital. And our next guest says it's because D.C. does not have a true comprehensive plan to deal with this situation. Marcus Ellis has worked on gun violence prevention issues in D.C. government for 23 years. He is now on the other side of government. He's executive director of the nonprofit Peace for D.C. Welcome in, Marcus, and this is a critically important conversation for where we are right now. Why do you think these numbers in D.C. are going up, not going down?
Yeah, well, one, thank you for having me. I appreciate being able to talk about this important topic. You know, you kind of mentioned it as we came on today. A lot of cities that look like the District of Columbia have what we call civic coalitions. They have strategic plans. They have plans that encompass all members of community, from the faith-based to the business community, nonprofits, and of course government. And quite frankly, D.C. has worked on plans, but we have yet to implement a true strategic plan.
All right. We talk about these things sometimes in generalities. 30 years ago on this television station, a franchise of reports called City Under Siege was launched in response to a widespread amount of violent crime in the District of Columbia. They have recently now brought that back here on this television. I want to ask you this question. Right now, is this a city under siege?
Well, I think that this is a city in crisis, right? We know that in certain communities there's a lack of opportunity, there's a lack of resources, and from what I know, no one was born to commit violent crime. Folks are doing this as a result of something. There are underlying factors that need to be addressed, right? When we're looking at food deserts, we're looking at things like, you know, a lack of equality in terms of our school system, right? Like schools in Ward 8, they don't get the same resources as schools in other wards. And so there's a reason for this. I think that we have to really dig in and address the underlying factors so that we can get this thing straight.
When the mayor has been asked about this repeatedly, she says that the issue is illegal guns on the streets. Now, while that might be true, there also has to be somebody with that gun in their hand that's made a decision to fire that weapon. Is there enough outreach to get to these people who have these guns to not kill their neighbors, to not kill the people who live in their own neighborhoods?
Yeah, I think there is. We have tons of what we call peacemakers, violence interrupters. And when I say tons, I should be careful with that because there aren't enough. And there is ample amount of funding toward that type of work, but we need to continue to fund and support our violence prevention workers. Now, I think that when we have the conversation about guns, sure, there's an issue with guns in our city. However, for those that feel the need to carry one, I ask the question, well, what are we offering them in the other hand? We want them to put the guns down. We want them to change the trajectory of their lives, but there has to be an opportunity, right? Like, folks, again, these crimes aren't being committed because folks just want to. There's a necessity that folks feel, and therefore we got to offer something that convinces them to go another way.
Or a lot of what you've talked about right now is addressing maybe the root cause in these communities. Yes. Let's talk about enforcement, because there has been a split here between the mayor of the District of Columbia in the past and the U.S. attorneys in charge of prosecuting a lot of these crimes about whether or not enough is being done to keep these people behind bars. Do we have lax laws? Do we have lax prosecution in this city?
Well, this is what I'll say in terms of both the mayor's office and the office of the attorney general. They have both invested in violence interruption. So what we know for a fact is that policing and arrests, it's been around for a really long time, probably 200 plus years if we think about it. It hasn't fixed the problem. And so we're hearing a lot of rhetoric that sounds a lot like what mass incarceration looked like back in the day, back in the late, I should say early 90s, late 80s. That wasn't the answer then, and it's not the answer now. And so law enforcement definitely has a place in the work. However, I do want to just kind of stress that the work of violence prevention is fairly new, and we need to continue to give it the chance to succeed.
All right, Marcus Ellis is the executive director of Peace for D.C. He's been studying, these alarming crime statistics and trying to solve some of these problems and find answers in the process. Marcus, we'd love to have you back at some point because I don't think this problem is going away anytime soon.
I appreciate it.
All right.